Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today, we're diving into a story that starts like that. It begins with a simple 25-cent piece, the 1984 quarter. But not just any 1984 quarter. This one's special. It's got a secret. A small D mint mark that tells a story most people overlook. And that story ends with an impressive valuation that might just surprise you. Let's roll back the clock to the year 1984. In Denver, Colorado, where one of the main branches of the U.S. Mint resides, the presses were hard at work. Among the millions of coins being struck was a humble little $quarter. It bore the face of George Washington, just like quarters had since 1932. But look closely, just beneath the wreath-tied ponytail on Washington's bust, you'll notice a tiny D. That mint mark identifies the Denver Mint, one of the 3 facilities striking quarters that year. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. Most people don't think twice about mint marks. They're tiny, often ignored, and most of the time, they don't seem to make much difference. But collectors know better. Mint marks are the key to unlocking a coin's true story. And the 1984 D quarter has a tale that's worth hearing. At first glance, this coin looks like any other quarter. It weighs 5.67 grams, is made of a copper-nickel clad composition, and features the iconic profile of George Washington on the obverse. The reverse? A bald eagle with outstretched wings clutching a bundle of arrows, standing proudly above 2 olive branches. Classic, right? But here's the twist. While millions of these coins were produced, only a small number survived in exceptionally high condition. Over time, most 1984 D quarters went through vending machines, parking meters, laundry rooms, and change drawers. They were scuffed, scratched, and generally beat up by the very people they were meant to serve. That's what makes the high-grade example so special. For a coin that was minted by the tens of millions, rarity doesn't necessarily come from how many were made. It comes from how many were preserved. Imagine finding a coin that somehow escaped decades of wear and tear. No pocket lint, no scratches, no soda spills, no gum stuck to it, just pristine, gleaming metal, nearly as sharp as the day it left the Denver Mint. That's the dream for collectors. And when it comes to the 1984 D quarter, that dream can be worth real money. So what makes one of these quarters leap from common change to valuable collectible? In the world of coin collecting, these are golden tickets. And while most 1984 D quarters are pretty standard, a few have surfaced with these very errors. A double die here, a clipped planchet there, and suddenly, the value jumps. Even more so if the coin is already in high condition. Now, you might be wondering, who's actually looking for these coins? Is this really a big deal? Let me take you into the world of coin auctions for a moment. In 2022, a stunning 1984 D quarter graded MS-67 by PCGS sold at auction. It had brilliant luster, razor-sharp details, and not a single blemish in sight. The bidding started modestly, but quickly escalated as collectors realized just how rare this gem was. When the final hammer fell, the winning bid reached a staggering $140. Yes. $140, for a coin that originally cost just 25 cents. Now, I know what you might be thinking. It's not like you're going to pull one of these out of your pocket change tomorrow. Or maybe you are. That's part of the fun. These high-grade coins don't usually look dramatically different from their common counterparts unless you know what to look for. But the possibility, that 1 in a million chance, that's what keeps people searching. That's what turns an ordinary day into a treasure hunt. And here's the kicker. Even if your 1984 D quarter isn't in MS-67 condition, it might still have value. MS-65s and MS-66s can also command significant prices. And if your coin has an error, any error, it could push that value even higher. So the next time you get a quarter in change, don't just drop it into your coin jar. Take a closer look. Check the date. Flip it over. Look for that tiny mint mark under Washington's ponytail. Is it a D? Is the coin in unusually good shape? Does anything look off? You might just have something special. Let's take a moment to appreciate what this story really tells us. It's not just about a coin. It's about history. Every quarter tells a story. From the people who designed it, to the workers who struck it, to the millions of hands it's passed through, it carries more than just monetary value. It carries time. It carries legacy. The 1984 D quarter may not be gold or silver. It doesn't sparkle like a gemstone or weigh heavy like a gold bar. But it holds value in a different way. In rarity. In preservation. In mystery. And for one lucky collector, it held a value of $140, not bad for a coin that probably sat unnoticed in a drawer for decades. Now, here's your call to action: grab a magnifying glass, turn on a lamp, and start looking. It might be in your car's cup holder. It might be in your old coat pocket. Or tucked away in that shoebox of random coins you've been meaning to sort through. The thrill isn't just in the value, it's in the hunt. And who knows? You might just find a tiny piece of American history hiding in plain sight. You think of a small silver, or, well, not silver, disc, and maybe at first glance it's just another coin jostling around in a change jar. But if I told you that one quarter, minted nearly half a century ago, could connect you to a moment in history, reveal an artist's vision, and possibly be worth as much as $143 today, you might lean in a little closer. That's where our story begins, a coin often taken for granted, yet brimming with narrative, the 1981 USA quarter dollar, minted in Denver, the beloved Roosevelt quarter. The design itself is something to admire. On the obverse, there's the familiar profile of Roosevelt, sharp yet gentle, determined yet accessible. Sculpted by the talented John R. Sinek in 1946, Roosevelt's image captures both gravitas and empathy. You can almost feel the empathy in his expression, the lines around his eyes suggesting lived hardship, deep thought, all echoed in gleaming metal. And on the reverse, a proud, regal eagle, wings partially outspread, clutching arrows and perched upon an olive branch, simultaneously symbols of war and peace, strength and diplomacy. That duality strikes me every time I look at one of these coins. But let's travel to the Denver Mint, nestled high among the Rockies, where the D Mint mark sits quietly below the wreath on the reverse, our little badge of origin. In 1981, nearly 1.3 billion Roosevelt quarters were struck there, yes, over a billion. Compared to some rarities that attract collectors like a magnet, that seems commonplace, even mundane. Yet within that gigantic run, some survivors have quietly stood out. Coins that slipped through with exceptional strike quality, remarkable eye appeal, minimal wear, maybe even some that escaped contact with other coins or harsh handling, tucked away in rolls, collections, or drawers for decades. So that's the backdrop, a coin minted by the millions, steeped in history, beautifully designed, carrying that humble Denver D. By all counts, just everyday currency. But our journey today is to uncover how, in the hands of collectors and under the scrutiny of grading services, some specimens quietly grow in prestige and price. Let's talk collector appeal for a minute. Why do people collect these coins at all? It's not gold. It's not some ancient Roman denarius. It's a modern US nickel-sized coin. And yet, people love them, for good reasons. The Roosevelt Quarter series has continuity. It's been minted every year since 1946, honoring a beloved leader, and circulating in pockets, piggy banks, and register trays for decades. Collectors build date and mint sets, wanting an example from each year, each mint. It becomes a personal journey through US history. Add to that the challenge of finding high-grade examples, they're harder to come by. A 1981 D in MS65 might sell for a few dollars. MS66 jumps to tens. And MS67? That's where the price steeps upward, and here's where our grand reveal comes in. That particular 1981 D Roosevelt quarter in mint state 67 condition, one with exceptional eye appeal and grading confirmation, has recently fetched around $143. That's a $5 face value coin, once slipping through tills, now commanding nearly 30 times face in a collector's market. That's the transformation, silent, slow, but powerful. So how do you know if a quarter you hold might be the one? First, look for full steps on Roosevelt's torch, sharp, distinct ridges toward the top of the torch's flame. Check for strong fields that gleam, minimal bag marks, no visible abrasions. Then consider grading. Professional graders evaluate microscopic flaws, luster, strike, and decide whether it meets MS67 criteria. The grading process isn't perfect, and opinions can vary, so savvy collectors compare submissions and auction results. But when a coin comes back from PCGS as MS67 with its verifying label and certification number, it steps into a rarefied zone of credibility and price. Let me paint one more scene: a mint-sourced roll of 1981 D quarters, straight from the bank before ever circulating. They're all crisp, untinted, with full mint luster. A collector breaks the roll, examines each one under a loupe. It crosses into MS67 territory. It becomes worth $143. Remember, though, value fluctuates. That $143 figure is based on recent sales of MS67 grade 1981 D Roosevelt quarters. Auction prices change, market demand shifts, grading standards evolve, and I appeal remains subjective. A single spot of toning or a slight bag mark can drag a grade into MS66, and prices, accordingly, may drop significantly. But that's the thrill. The difference between everyday and extraordinary can hinge on whisper-thin margins, literally a feather's weight of metal, a hairline of detail. Every coin tells a story, with a date, a mint mark, and a face. The 1981 D Roosevelt quarter whispers of an America in transition, a nation moving forward from turmoil, honoring a leader whose New Deal optimism transformed the country. Its modern craftsmanship, designed by cynic capturing Roosevelt's essence, minted amid Denver's horizontal plains and alpine peaks. Then, decades later, it rests in someone's hands, with attention, appreciation, maybe even something extraordinary discovered. It floats from pocket to slab, from desk drawer to auction block, and that, dear viewer, brings us to the end of our journey, or the revealing moment. As we lift the coin from its capsule, let it catch that light and silently announce, $143. Thanks for watching this video.